What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 8, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Bucks. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NFL Week 8. Let's take a look at this Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Bucks. So at the quarterback position, you can play both these quarterbacks here tonight, one or the other. Now, Tom Brady, he is not having a good season, but they got him priced down a little bit here. He's $1,800 less than Lamar Jackson. So because you got a discount with Tom Brady and he's got a good matchup, even though he's having a horrific season, it's Tom Brady, so you can't ignore this guy. So let's start with the most likely suspect to go off here tonight, Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson has averaged 24.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.4 rush attempts per game. So he's got monster rushing upside. He's going to be about 64% owned, projected at 22 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,800 DraftKings salary. Vegas thinks there's going to be 46 points scored in this game, with the Ravens trailing by 1.5. Now, Lamar Jackson, he's struggled the past 3 weeks, only scoring 11, 18, and 16 fantasy points in the last 3 weeks off of 10, 7, and 12 rush attempts. So I love the rushing upside. I think that's what makes Lamar Jackson the fantasy pick that I like here tonight. So the fantasy quarterback that I like here tonight. So I like Lamar Jackson here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Okay guys, now Tom Brady. So I've learned never bet on a quarterback going through a celebrity divorce. Tom Brady has been really bad this year. Obviously, he's been distracted with the stuff off the field, and his performance has absolutely taken a hit because of the distractions. But Tom Brady does have a good matchup here tonight. The Baltimore Ravens give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Now, Tom Brady has averaged 16.3 fantasy points per game on the season, only getting an average of 1.6 rush attempts per game. So because he's priced down here, he's going to be about 59% owned. He's projected at 19 fantasy points here tonight, only 10,000 DraftKings salary, and Tom Brady has scored 12, 14, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So because of the lower salary and the good matchup here, I like Tom Brady here versus the Baltimore Ravens.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So with Tom Brady struggling a little bit, you can look for them to lean on the run attack here, even though they didn't run the ball much last week. Traditionally, throughout the season, they've been running the ball. So I like Leonard Fournette from the Tampa Bay Bucks, and Leonard Fournette has averaged 17.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 14.7 rush attempts per game and 5.6 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 74% of the snaps, gonna be about 45% owned, projected at 15.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,800 DraftKings salary. Leonard Fournette has scored 5, 22, and 36 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He got 8, 21, and 14 rush attempts in those games, on top of 3, 6, and 11 pass targets. So I like Leonard Fournette here versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now for the Baltimore Ravens, they got a running back last week. Take a look at Gus Edwards. He's averaging 18.6 fantasy points. That was his one game that he played last week. He scored 19 fantasy points off of 16 rush attempts and 1 pass target. He's going to be about 18% owned, projected at 9.2 fantasy points here tonight. That looks a little bit low. It might be because he's questionable. He was limited in practice, but I'm going to bump that up to 15 fantasy points here. So if you want to edit the projection, you just tap on the projection, put in your new projection, click OK, and then that projection will be used throughout the tools. So Gus Edwards is 7,600 DraftKings salary, and he scored 19 fantasy points last week off of 16 rush attempts and 1 pass target. So pretty good week, pretty good for his first week of action. So I like Gus Edwards here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the running back position, take a look at Kenyon Drake from the Baltimore Ravens. He only averaging 6.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.4 rush attempts per game and 1 pass target per game. He's going to be about 10% owned. Now, only projected at 4.2 fantasy points here tonight. I think he can score 8 fantasy points, and he's 4,600 DraftKings salary. Kenyon Drake scored 1, 23, and 4 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 11, 10, and 4 rush attempts on top of 1, 2, and 1 pass target. So this is a high risk, high reward pick, but we saw he has that 20 plus fantasy point upside. He is a dynamic player. He's a boomer bust type player here. And if you're going to save some salary on this slate, I like Kenyon Drake here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. Our NBA tools are awesome. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So stud on the slate, you have Mike Evans from the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Baltimore Ravens are giving up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Mike Evans has averaged 16.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 82% of the snaps, gonna be about 43% owned, projected at 16.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,000 DraftKings salary. Mike Evans has scored 19, 8, and 12 fantasy the last 3 games. Fantasy points the last 3 games off of 15, 4, and 8 pass targets. So a ton of pass targets last game. We know this guy's got monster upside. So if Tom Brady can get his act together tonight, I like Mike Evans here versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now the other Bucs wide receiver that I like is Chris Godwin. He's averaging 11.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.8 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 53% owned, projected at 15.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's $9,000 DraftKings salary, and he's emerged as Tom Brady's favorite target here this season. So Chris Godwin has scored 12, 16, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 13, 12, and 6 pass targets. So I like Chris Godwin here versus the Baltimore Ravens. So Chris Godwin is probably my favorite wide receiver on the slate. I think he has the most upside for his salary. So if you're looking to save some salary on the slate, or if you want to go with a Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, I would go with Devin Duvernay from the Baltimore Ravens. He's averaging 10.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 21% owned. Has been on the field for 62% of the snaps. He's projected at 7.9 fantasy points here tonight. I'm going to up that to 12 fantasy points. He's $6,400 DraftKings salary. Devin Duvernay has scored 6, 2, and 13 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 3, 5, and 7 pass targets. So I like Devin Duvernay here versus the Tampa Bay Bucs. So another wide receiver you can look at here tonight is Rashad Bateman from the Baltimore Ravens. He's averaging 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.4 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 32% owned, projected at 10.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's $7,000 DraftKings salary. Rashad Bateman scored 8 fantasy points off of 5 pass targets last week. He was a full participant in practice, so he should be good to go. So I like Rashad Bateman here versus the Tampa Bay Bucs. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. I like Cade Otton from the Tampa Bay Bucs, and he's averaging 5.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.5 pass targets per game. Now, he stepped up into the number 1 tight end role. Let's see who it was. Yeah, Cameron Brate is out, so Cade Otton getting some extra pass targets, and he's going to be about 21% owned, projected at 7.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's $5,000 DraftKings salary, and he scored 10, 4, and 10 fantasy points the last 3 games off of 5, 3, and 7 pass targets. So I like Cade Otton here versus the Baltimore Ravens. So guys, Mark Andrews did not practice Wednesday. He's questionable, and he's $9,200 DraftKings salary. So if he is out, then I would absolutely look to either Rashad Bateman or Devin Duvernay to get a lot of pass targets here tonight. If Mark Andrews does play, I think you got to consider him. He's averaging 17.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.4 pass targets per game. Been on the field for 90% of the snaps. If he does play, he's going to be about 52% owned. So, and he's projected at 16.1 fantasy points here tonight. So if he does play, I like Mark Andrews here versus the Tampa Bay Bucs.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video, or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.